Okay, moving along in the Seder. So yesterday we did Kaddish. Now next part is Urchatz. Now Urchatz is you wash your hands. But you wash your hands without a bracha. Why do we wash our hands without a bracha? Because now we're going to dip the karpas. After Urchatz comes karpas. We're going to dip the karpas in salt water. So there is a din in halacha that says that davar shetibuli b'mashke, something that you dip into liquid, according to many opinions, you have to wash like you would for bread. That means, according to halacha, let's say you wet a fruit, and then you eat the fruit with your hands. According to many opinions, if you didn't dry the fruit, you'd have to wash for bread, like you would for bread. According to many opinions, even with the bracha on netilas yadayim. If you would dip a tea biscuit into your tea, according to many opinions, you have to wash on it, not because it's bread, but davar shetibuli b'mashke, something that you dip into liquid, it needs to be washed. Your hands need to be washed. So there's an argument about that. So most of the world, by the way, is lenient. Even though Allah says you really shouldn't be so lenient. So if you eat something, but I'll give you an example. Let's say you eat a piece of herring. So if you eat it with a fork, and it's normally eaten with a fork, so then you don't have to wash, even though the herring is wet, or the sour pickle, or the vegetable that's wet. But if you eat it with your hands, it says you should either dry it first, or like you take an apple, right? You wash the apple. So according to Allah, the proper thing to do during the year is to dry the apple and then make a bread place. Then you don't have to wash in the apple. So it says in halacha by karpas, because we're going to dip the karpas in salt water. So even somebody who's not careful in it a whole year, but now they should do it by Pesach. Why? The kid should ask the question, Ma nishtana alayla hazeh? You make Kiddush, normally the kid sees you go wash for bread. Now you're going to go wash, you're not even eating a meitzi. You're going to take a piece of onion or potato or a vegetable and dip it into salt water. So the kid says, like, what's going on here? That's the whole purpose of the night that the kid should ask. So you wash your hands like you would for bread, but you don't make a bracha. Some people, I don't know where they get this from, are of the opinion that, okay, so because you're not making a bracha, you could talk. You could talk after you wash before you eat the karpas, which doesn't make sense. The reason you're washing because according to opinions in Allah, you have to wash. We don't make a bracha just because it's an argument. But why should you be allowed to talk? You shouldn't be talking anyway. Some people say we want to talk to remind ourselves not to make a bracha. Remember not to make a bracha. Don't talk. I mean, like, it's the Jews and talking have something synonymous. Okay, so then you wash your hands without a bracha. Then you come to the next stage, karpas. Now karpas, we eat again, it's one of the purpose of karpas is latmiya satinekis, the Gemara says that the kid should ask, ma nishtana, what's going on here? So now the question is, how much karpas do you eat? So let me preface it by saying, it says in halacha that when you make a berpi adama on the karpas, you should have in mind that this adama also goes for the morar, which is also adama, and the morar of the kerech, the morar that you're going to eat in the sandwich. Why? Even though the morar you're eating after you wash hameitzi, right? First you eat the matzah, then the morar. So l'chayda you already washed for hameitzi. But according to many opinions, you'd have to make a hadama on the morar anyway. Why? Because we learned already in the past, hameitzi covers what you're eating to fill you up. Like if somebody washes and eats a fruit in the middle of the meal, you have to make a bracha on the fruit. Because fruits are not there to fill you up, unless if your meal is bread and fruit. That's a different story. So technically, the morar is not part of the meal. So really, it wouldn't be covered with hameitzi. So therefore, it says in halacha that when you make hadama and the karpas, you have in mind that it's also good for the morar. Okay, fine. But now the question is, how much karpas do you eat? If you're going to eat a lot of karpas, a kazayas, then you have to make an after brach on it. Because benching is not going to cover it. V'chat hamazon is not going to cover it because this is what you're eating before you washed. So now the question is, how much karpas should I eat? So if I eat a lot, I have to make an after bracha. If I make an after bracha, I can't cover the mother because I already made an after bracha on it. So therefore the custom is in many places, and this is our custom, we eat a small piece of karpas, not a kazayas. Then we don't have to make an after bracha. And then the bracha, the karpas, could also go onto the mother also. So that's our custom, what we do. So after urchas karpas, then we come yachatz. Yachatz is we break the middle matzah. What?
But if the person wants to eat like the karpas like throughout the thing, they're not covered by it once they wash. Then even after
after they wash, because you have in mind you're going to be eating that's fine. So now you come to yachatz. Yachatz is you break the middle matzah. Why the middle matzah? We'll discuss that in a minute. So you break the middle matzah, and you take the larger piece, and you put it away for the afikomen, because afikomen is a remembrance of the Korban Pesach, so that piece of matzah should be more choshev. But you have to keep in mind that even when you break the middle matzah into two and you put away the bigger piece, you still need to have a kazayas of matzah left on that half that you're leaving. Because that's part of the kazayas of meitzi matzah. So you need to, when you break it, you can't break it like 3/4 and 1/4. You have to break it pretty much half, but you take the bigger piece and you put it away for afikomen. In our circles, according to Kabbalah, we take the piece that we broke for the afikomen, we break it into 5 pieces, because it has 5 levels of gvura, the sweetening of the 5 levels of gvura, and then we put it away. It happened with the Rebbe Rashab once by mistake broke into 6. He didn't use the 6th piece. He put it off to the side, and for the afikomen he only put away 5 pieces from the matzah. So now you're left with 2.5 matzahs. Okay. Now in many places there's a custom that the kids would steal the afikomen, and then when you needed the afikomen at the end of the meal, you needed the afikomen at the end of the meal, then the kids would demand money or prize or something, and then the father would have to give it to them because otherwise he's not going to get back the afikomen. Okay? So in Chabad we don't do that. Why? Well, and what's the purpose of it in halacha? It's mentioned in halacha. What's the purpose of that in halacha? Because then the kids will be up. You want the kids to be up for the Seder. By the time you get to the afikomen, it's probably close to the end of the Seder. Like this, they'll be up, anxious that they have to get get the present for the afikomen. But in Chabad we do it a little bit different, because there's an expression in the Gemara, you teach a kid to steal and then you reward him for it. There's such an expression in the Gemara. So basically what you're teaching the kids, steal, and then you're going to get a present for it. In chinuch, it's not a good thing. So what do? Exact same thing. The parents hide afikomen, and the kids find afikomen. So they're getting a present for finding the afikomen, not for stealing it. And it's the same objective, that the kids should stay up all the way to the end of the Seder. What? Apikoman, it's a Mishnah Psachim. A maftirin achar Pesach apikoman literally what it means bring out more. Apikoman means bring out more. Because when the Mishnah says, we say in Agoda, the Chacham, you tell maftirin achar Pesach apikoman. What it means is, you don't say, what does maftirin achar Pesach apikoman mean? After the Korban Pesach, you don't say, Afikoman, bring out more food. Because after the Korban Pesach, you're not allowed to eat anything. You're not supposed to drink anything. The only thing you're allowed to drink is the 2 cups left and water. In Chabad, because we don't even drink water. After the 2 cups, that's it for the night.
It comes from the root of overindulgence.
No, apikoman is Aramaic. What?
No, they're different meaning.
That's the meaning. The Baitanura says what the word apikoman in the Mishnah Pesachim, the end of Pesachim. Okay, so that's Yachatz. Now you come to a biblical mitzvah called Magid. But along the way, in other words, when do you fill up the cup? Whatever, Bechlal like this. The night of Pesach, there is a competition between the matzah and the wine. So whenever you deal with the wine, you cover the matzah. When you don't deal with the wine, you uncover the matzah. Okay? Because matzah is called lechem eini, poor man's bread. Okay? So another reason why matzah is called lechem eini, eini also means oneh, to talk, to answer. Sha'ainin olav daharbi dvarim. You say the Haggadah with the matzah uncovered, because lechem eini means not only poor man's bread because it's flour and water. There's no juice in it, there's nothing else in it, there's just flour and water. But also, lechem eini means it's a poor man, bread of affliction, it means bread of talking a lot. So like, before the manishtana, you fill up the 2nd cup, and then you cover the matzah. So there's this competition going on the whole night between the matzah and the wine. You have the same competition every Shabbos. Whenever you make Kiddush, you cover the challah. Right? Why do you cover the challah? Because really, challah is more important than wine. But you can't eat before Kiddush. So what do you do? Because normally, let's say right now, I decide to have dinner, bread and wine, or cake and wine. I'm going to have now I'm going to sit down by Farbrengen, I'm going to have cake and wine. What do you make a bracha on first? So you make mezainis first, or amaiti first. Why? Because in the pasuk it says, Eretz chita usaora, wheat and barley, v'gefen. So therefore the mezainis, chita seder, the wheat and barley, whether it's mezainis or amaiti, comes before gefen. So normally, during the week or any time, you just sit down and have cake and wine. You have to first make a bracha on the cake and then on the wine. Halachically. Shabbos you can't do that. So therefore, we make so we cover the challah as if the challah is not here. The challah shouldn't get embarrassed that we're doing something else before we're giving credence to the wine. Before there's this spiritual competition between the wine and the matzahs. 1 second, which is interesting. It's another issue. We'll talk a different time. The 3 matzahs correspond with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The 4 cups of wine correspond with Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. They correspond with a lot of things, but so there's this competition between the matzah and the wine. So anytime by the Seder, when you're dealing with the wine, you're picking up the wine, or you're filling the wine, you cover the matzah. You're not dealing with the wine, now you're talking about the Haggadah, so you uncover the matzahs. So what?
Why do we give precedence on Shabbat on the wine over the bread?
Because you're not allowed to eat before Kiddush. You're just not allowed to eat before Kiddush, so what should you do?
If the bread is higher.
Yeah, but you still can't eat before Kiddush.
Why not make Kiddush on the bread?
Because there's an Inyan halachically to make Kiddush dafka on wine. Because wine has this prominence. So there's a prominence of wine and there's a prominence of challah or matzah, right? So there's this competition. So halacha says, we make everybody no embarrassments over here. You're using wine, cover the matzah. You're uncovering the matzah. When you're not dealing with wine, uncover the matzah.
Where does the wine get precedence?
By Kiddush.
What
you make Kiddush even though there's challah there.
I guess what's the source? Is the source is the pasuk.
Because you're not allowed to eat before Kiddush. That's halacha. So what do? So you cover the matzah, challah, or matzah, as if to say it's not here yet. Kimachat shin is no ma'aseh me'er me'er be'evel ma'in kim shebelag al teiro.